Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another video episode on the Sports Stories podcast. I almost said the old name. Now this one, I thought I was gonna be doing the tier 6 of the iceberg, but then I realized that the playoffs were actually like, I saw it on Sunday. So I actually made a video. So if you are seeing this and then you're like, why is there another video? Why are you doing this again? Is because I thought all the seating, right? I thought all the seating was finalized, that everything was up. I was like, okay, seems good to me. Let me just go ahead and make this video. And then made all my predictions only for the Celtics to win. And then Giannis sat out for the Bucks last game, so the Bucks ended up losing that one. Celtics won, so basically didn't really change much. Really just changed who I had going to the second round, because before I had Chicago beating Boston to make it to the second round. But now Chicago's obviously going up against number 3 seeded Milwaukee, and then now Boston is going to be going up against whoever wins the play-in tournament game between Brooklyn and Cleveland. And obviously, if you're watching the video here, kind of spoiled for you for all the play-in games or play-in predictions for me. But if you are listening on a podcast platform, you don't know. So I'm going to be talking about that. And yeah, let's just get right into these predictions. So first of all, let's start over in the West for the playing game with New Orleans versus San Antonio. And, pardon me if I kind of run through things. I already talked about this yesterday, did a whole video, and then only for it to be, wrong. So redoing it again. So I'm not really going to go too in depth because I already did. And, but I think San Antonio is a good team. Greg Popovich, most winningest coach in NBA history. I think, did it this year. He won the most games that a coach has ever won in the NBA in NBA history. And with not such a great cast, really just Podol and DeJounte Murray, who I believe DeJounte Murray should be a really prime candidate for that Most Improved Player of the Year award. But DeJounte Murray's been really good. Podol's been really good. And besides from those two players, really nothing special, but still they're able to get to this 10th seed, beating out LA, who hadn't had the best or most spectacular end of the season run. So they did get kind of lucky there. And then as for the Pelicans, still some question marks around if Zion Williamson is going to be playing. Nobody really knows. People are saying, oh, he might play in the play-in. And some are saying, well, he could play in the playoffs if the Pelicans make it to the playoffs. And I mean, that could be good, but are they going to be good enough to beat the Spurs in the playing game? And I mean, the trade that they made for CJ McCollum at the All-Star break for the trade deadline, really great trade for him. It's proven well. CJ McCollum is one of the better players there. Um, and the Pelicans, I guess, kind of like the San Antonio Spurs, they both have really under the radar rosters. They don't really have that many stars. You're not gonna think about the Pelicans or the Spurs if somebody walks up and you say like, name one good NBA player. You're not gonna think Spurs or Pelicans. So I mean, both rosters are not really the best. So I think it's gonna be underwhelming game. Or it's either going to be underwhelming, as in one team wins, or it's going to be pretty exciting because both teams are kind of on the same level, in my opinion. The Pelicans have a little bit more veteran presence. They have some experience in the playoffs, especially CJ McCollum. And I think CJ McCollum really wants to have a leadership role with a team after all those years kind of sitting behind Damian Lillard. But this year, I don't think it's going to be enough for the Pelicans. I have the Spurs winning here. Um, Moving on to the next play-in game, uh, going up against whoever loses the Minnesota and Clippers game. But I think the Spurs have enough in it to win it. I think they just have enough to beat the Pelicans in that game. I think it's going to be close. I believe I have it within like 5 points. So it's going to be a close one, but I think the Spurs, they have the coaching ability, and I think they have the athleticism to be able to beat the Pelicans. Now moving on to the next play-in tournament game, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves going up against the Los Angeles Clippers. Now the Clippers, they didn't start off that well. Reggie Jackson mainly was their best person, in my opinion. Um, but Paul George did come back later on in the season, kind of helping them get to this point where they are now at the 8th seed. And the Clippers aren't half bad. Ivan Zubac, I already said Reggie Jackson, who's been really great player for them. And I say that's about it. I'm not sure if Kawhi is going to be playing in the play-in tournament. I assume he's not, since there hasn't really been any clear news as to whether he is going to be in or is he going to be out. So, for that, I can't really bring in Kawhi in here because I don't know what the status of his health is to be able to play in this game. But as for the Clippers roster now, Paul George is probably going to be leading that team into this game. And Paul George has been pretty good. He has the name Playoff P for a reason, even though the last few years hasn't really had him be Playoff P. I mean, maybe last year kind of made a resurgence in the playoffs after Kawhi went out, but not. I can't really say that Paul George's performance in the playoffs for the past few years has been significantly better than other players in the playoffs. So, I mean, I guess that's really my only kind of negative towards the Clippers. Are I don't know how they're gonna pair, especially if they're gonna put everything on Paul George to win this game. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's gonna be able to win you that game. And moving on to the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards has definitely matured in the league. He's definitely been playing a lot better. Karl-Anthony Towns has just been Karl-Anthony Towns. Can't really say much about him. He's just a beast in the paint, and on the arc too. So it's going to be tough to go up against him. And then obviously, you're going to have, the supporting cast that they have. D'Angelo Russell, who's been really good. I think the Timberwolves have a really good team. I think they perform at a peak. They're all seems like their chemistry is really good, and I guess they're just overall a really good team. And I guess I'll just cut to the chase here. I got the Timberwolves winning this one. Um, I think the Clippers are good. Don't get me wrong, but the Timberwolves are a team that just seems like they could just really overpower the Clippers, especially just from a defensive standpoint. I think the Timberwolves have a way better defense than the Clippers, especially if Kawhi's not going to be playing with the Clippers for this game. So, I mean, I got the Timberwolves winning that one. Anthony Edwards made it to his first playoff game in his second year. Karl-Anthony Towns has been in the playoffs a couple times. Overall, Minnesota is a really good team. So I'm going to have them moving on into the first round. We're going to be playing the number 2 seeded Memphis Grizzlies. Now moving on to the last playing game for the Western Conference. We have the 10 seed San Antonio Spurs and the 8th seeded Los Angeles Clippers. Now the Spurs just coming off of a win against the Pelicans. So they're going to be at a pretty, their morale's going to be high. Their emotional is going to be really good. And then the Clippers coming off of a loss, but they have a second chance. Will playoff be up here? If he doesn't against the Timberwolves, will he appear against the Spurs? Now, I think for this one, I think the Spurs just have nothing to lose here. You know, I was gonna say they have more of a need to win, but I was gonna say that only because I feel like the Clippers have more of a need to win. Um, they're missing out on Kawhi. Seems like Kawhi is most likely gonna leave. Maybe possibly after this season. I mean, he hasn't played. Doesn't seem like they're really trying to rush him back, which is understandable, but doesn't seem like he wants to be with the team. Paul George, don't know how that's gonna work out. Like, it just seems like if the Clippers don't win now, it's gonna be a long time until they win. It just seems like this is gonna be kind of like the end here for that Paul George and Kawhi run. Maybe not. Maybe they run it back, try to make it to a championship. But I feel like the Clippers have more to lose, and the Spurs have nothing to lose. They're still young. Maybe Greg Popovich is trying to fight for something. I bet he's already won all the rings. He's already won multiple championships with the Spurs. Um, I don't think he's really in a hurry to really get another one. So, I mean, I feel like the Spurs have nothing to lose. The Clippers have everything to lose. Um, and you know what they say: the most dangerous thing, in this world is a team that has nothing to lose. And I think the Spurs, they're gonna go out there. Dejounte Murray has been great. I think he's gonna have another great game, and I think they're gonna beat the Clippers. I think they're gonna beat the Clippers. I think the Spurs are just such a great team. They work with each other perfectly. Um, and I think overall it just works out for the Spurs. And so I got them moving into the first round. I'm going up against the Phoenix Suns, and then heading over to the Eastern Conference playing games. We have the Hornets versus the Let me check here. The Hornets versus the Hawks. And this one was pretty close in my opinion. I think it's gonna be like a one score game. I think this is gonna be a really good one. Both teams have young rosters. Um, you know, but when I was looking at the kind of comparison between these two, um, I saw the Hornets and I saw that they seemed like a team that's playing at their peak, I'd say, right now. And that's something to worry about if you're the Hawks right now. Playing against a team that's at its peak, performance peak right now is gonna be really tough. The Hornets just seem like they're on a roll. LaMelo Ball, Bridges, no, and their supporting cast is just really great. They have depth, and I think that's something that the Hawks really lack. Is that depth? They lost a lot of it in during this offseason. A lot of the players that they had, a lot of that veteran presence that they had last season's kind of gone. And a lot of people doubted the Hawks last season, and they ended up making it pretty far in the playoffs. But as for this one, I think the Hornets are just a good enough team. I think they're playing again at their peak. They're just playing really good basketball overall. And I think they're gonna steamroll over here and beat the Hawks. I don't think it's gonna be an entire blowout. Like I said, I think it's gonna be a one score game, but I think it really will come down to momentum, and I think the Hornets will have more momentum going into this game. It's gonna be hard against playing in Atlanta, but I think the Hornets should do pretty good against Atlanta. Now moving on to the next one, we have the Nets going up against the Cavaliers. Now this one is for the seventh seed to play against Boston in the first round. Brooklyn I was surprised that they made it this far down in the tier, or like in the tier list, but in the seeding. But then remembered, Katie's injury prone. Um, Kyrie couldn't play home games. He couldn't play any games for like half the season. Then he was able to play away games last half of the season. Then just like three about a month ago, or not even, Kyrie was able to play in home games. So, Brooklyn, I believe was at ninth at some point during the season, but then Kyrie in and Katie in. I think that's a deal to look out for. And last year they had Harden and Durant, and then Kyrie was out. So really, it just seems like nobody was in or out for that trio that they had. And then James Harden left for Philadelphia. And the Nets now have I'd say a pretty solid team. It seems like KD's gonna be in. Seems like Kyrie's gonna be in. It looks like they're both healthy. Um, and I mean, I feel like it's gonna be like one of those games where it's like, how is this team in the playing tournament? Like the Nets should not be in this playing tournament, but they are, and it's gonna be hard to watch if you're a Cavs fan, because don't get me wrong, the Cavs are good, but they're a young team. They lack experience. Darius Garland, Colin Sexton, Evan Mobley, though that's the big three there in Cleveland. I think they're really good. They're promising, but they don't have enough experience. They haven't been at this level in the playoffs where they're going to be playing these spectacular teams. And granted, it's only going to be one game, so most likely, the Nets could mess up, have a bad day. That's the big thing about this playing tournament, is that teams could just be having a bad day. Um, and that's it, compared to what in the playoffs where it's a 7-game series. You know, you're not gonna sorry, you're not gonna you can just have one bad day, but it's not gonna really affect the full big picture, because there's still 7 games in the series. But the playing tournament, there's only one game, so there's a possibility that the Nets somehow have a bad game, and the Cavs just take advantage of that, do their thing, and win the game. But for this one, I think logically it's just gonna be the Nets. I think the Nets are heavy favorites in this one, and I think it's kind of a no brainer. Choose the Nets for this one, and move on to play Boston in the first round. And then next we have the Hornets going up against the Cavaliers. So Cavaliers coming off of a loss to Brooklyn, and then Charlotte coming off a win against Atlanta. Again, both teams really young at this stage, and Cavs have a big three. Hornets have 2 good players, and a cast. So I think this is gonna be a really close one, but I'm gonna have the Cleveland, or not, sorry, not the Cleveland. I'm gonna have the Charlotte Hornets win this one. I think it's gonna be really close. They're both really young and talented teams, but again, I think the Hornets are playing at that peak where they have a lot of momentum right now, and they kind of caught on at the right time. Maybe this little break might, you know, derail that momentum and kind of force them to slow down. But I think they're gonna have a good game. I think they're gonna continue to do what they've been doing, and beat some teams, head over to the first round, play the number 1 seeded Heat. Now, moving on to the Western Conference first round. Let me get my notes here. Regarding both teams. Sorry about that. So Phoenix, San Antonio. It's gonna be interesting to watch. But for this one, I think it's kind of a no-brainer. But I have the Suns in 5. I'm sure the Spurs can probably win 1. I don't think they're gonna be absolutely swept in this first round, but I think it's gonna be a nice gentleman sweep by the Suns. you know, allow them to win one, and then Suns go ahead and knock them off in the first round. I think uh, it's gonna be easy for them. I think so. There's not really much competition for the Suns in this one. So yeah, I think just give me the Suns in five in the first round. And then next we have the number 4 seeded Dallas Mavericks going up against the number 5 seeded Utah Jazz. Now this one, I have a little bit of an underdog pick here, but I have the I have the Jazz winning this one. Number 5 seed Jazz over the Mavericks, and I don't think it's gonna be close either. I have the Jazz sweeping the Mavericks in this one. I just you know it it's one of those ones where it's it's gonna look close in all the games, but then Utah just somehow wins all of them and ends up sweeping. I think it's just it's probably boring for the. I mean, both these teams are really good teams. Don't get me wrong, but Mavs were kind of struggling without Luca, and I think, like I said in the video, that got taken down because uh, I was a little too impatient. Should have waited for last night's games. Was that I think the Jazz, if they limit Luka Doncic to less than 19 points a game, I think the Jazz have a chance to win all 4 games, because I think the Mavs don't really have much besides Jalen Brunson. Looking at Luka Doncic basically is leading the team in every possible stat. Looking at the team's top scorer, it's Luka Doncic at 1, Kristaps Porzingis at 2, who's not even with the team anymore, and then next up is Jalen Brunson at 3, scoring about 13 points a game. So if Luka goes down, hopefully not, knock on wood, but or at least if the Jazz kind of are able to lock down Luka somehow, it's gonna be tough for the Mavs to really win games without Luka. So without Luka being as impactful as he is during the regular season, so I have the Jazz in 4 in the first round, moving up to face the Phoenix Suns in the second round, the quarterfinals. Um, Now this next game, Golden State Warriors, Denver Nuggets. I think this one's gonna be a great game as well. Golden State coming back from a underwhelming season, losing in the play-in game last year to the Grizzlies. Um, and the Warriors uh, didn't have Clay last year due to that torn ACL. They brought him back in the G League. He did good in the G League, so they're like, yeah, you can play in the major league, NBA. And you know, Clay's balled out a little bit, but I don't think as much as many people thought he would. It does seem like his injuries have kind of slowed him down a little bit, forced him to play a little bit different. Um, he's still Klay Thompson, don't get me wrong, but it just kind of seems like a little bit, little bit, little shell of himself, I'd say. Like not like he's not fully bad, but he's not the Klay Thompson that you'd see in 2016 going up against, the Cavs in the finals. Like he's not that Klay Thompson. He's kind of a little bit of an older Klay Thompson, He's passing it around. He's taking a little bit slower or not slower shots, but a little bit wiser shot selection, so he's not just chucking up threes and stuff. So you have that. Steph Curry's obviously good. Draymond Green's obviously good. Andrew Wiggins is all-star this season. So I mean that Warriors team is good. And looking at the Nuggets, Nikola Jokic is just Nikola Jokic, MVP candidate this season. Won MVP last year. And the Nuggets did pretty well. They made a little run in the playoffs. Until they lost against the Jazz, I believe. Um, so I think it's gonna be close, but I got the Nuggets in 5 for this one. I think it's gonna be another upset here. I think the Jazz are gonna upset the Mavs, and the Nuggets are gonna upset the Warriors. I think the Warriors are a great team, but Denver has an MVP for a reason. And I don't think the Warriors are gonna be able to stop Nikola Jokic in this series. So give me Denver in 5 there. Sorry. Next up, we have Memphis Grizzlies going up against the number 7 seed Minnesota Timberwolves. Memphis flying past the radar. I didn't think they were going to do this good. Last season, they were able to beat. Actually, no, I don't think that. Yeah, the Nuggets didn't lose to the Jazz. They lost to somebody else. I don't remember, but they definitely did not lose to the Jazz because that would make no sense. But the Grizzlies, they beat the Warriors in the playing game last season. They were able to win the 8th seed, and they went up to go and face uh, the Jazz in the first round exits. But I think this team has gotten a lot better. Sorry. And Ja Morant's definitely a better player. His playing style has definitely matured. And the Grizzlies picked up some really good young players. And they've been doing really good. They have depth. Steven Adams has been doing pretty good. He's a rebounding machine for them. So overall, the Grizzlies are a really good team. The Timberwolves, obviously another good team, but do they have the depth that reaches far enough as Memphis does? So I don't really know. That's a big question. If the Timberwolves star players do get a little worn out, are they going to be able to make the substitutions to really fit and go up against Grizzlies? Because if Ja Morant gets tired, I feel like the Grizzlies have more assets to replace Ja Morant in order for Ja Morant to get back into the game and not have him play 48 minutes a game. So I think the Grizzlies have more depth, and for that reason, I have Memphis winning this one in 5. I think there's gonna be a lot of 5 game series in this first round, but um, I mean, what can I say? It's gonna be good, um, and it's gonna be interesting to see. Um, then the next game we have is in the Eastern Conference. 1 seed Miami Heat going up against the 10 seeded Charlotte Hornets. Now the East, I think, is a lot more competitive this year. I think they're going to be a lot better. I think they're going to be a lot better this year compared to the West. Everybody says that the East loses to the West, but last year Milwaukee won. And beat the Suns. And I think the East is really just getting better overall compared to the West. So uh, I think the East is getting to be the better conference, and they just have better matchups. I think so far in the playoffs. But with this matchup, the Heat versus the Hornets, two really good teams. The Heat, Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, who I think Tyler Hero should be 6th man of the year this year. I think he's gonna be a prime candidate for that position as well. But my only issue with the Heat is that can they again, I think depth is really important in the playoffs. If you don't have depth, can you win? Because it's a 7 game series. It's not one game. One game, okay, maybe. Maybe they you don't really need that much depth because one game you can have somebody play 30 minutes, but you can't have somebody play 30 minutes in 7 games. Like, as unreasonable. Yeah. Or not 30 minutes in 7 games, but the players gonna get worn out, and so you're gonna need a lot of depth. And I think the Heat has a lot of depth, or doesn't have a lot of depth. I think, in my opinion, and compared to the Hornets, who have really young talent, they have depth. Sorry. I think they're able to get it done in the first round. I think they're gonna be able to put away the 9th seed the 8th seed, and now the first seed, I think, in 6. I have Charlotte winning this one in 6. I think that it's gonna be a good series, but I think the Hornets are just playing at a peak where it's gonna be hard to really beat them. So, yeah, give me the Hornets there, beating the Miami Heat in 6 games. And then we have number 4 seeded Philadelphia 76ers taking on the number 5 seed Toronto Raptors, and this one was really hard to choose which way is going to go. 76ers traded away Ben Simmons this season, um, and they were able to get James Harden, but they lost a lot of depth with that trade. I mean, they lost one of their really good point guards, in my opinion, on their bench, Seth Curry, who I believe became a starter at the start of the season. He was really good, and they ended up trading him away. Sorry about that. End up trading him away, so it's gonna be tough for the 76ers with the depth. But they're going up against the Raptors, who has a really good young team. Again, a team that lacks experience. Really, all they have is Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam, I believe, and some of their bench players that did play in that in that Kawhi era with Toronto for like a year, 2 years. So, um, I mean, Toronto has a lack of experience, while the 76ers have a lot of experience. They've basically kept the same team that they've had. Again, trusting the process. Joel Embiid's been really good. And I mean, the Raptors, Scotty Barnes has really matured in just one season. He hasn't even played like a full season, or he just played, a full season, full regular season, but he hasn't even played in the playoffs. And his style has really matured. Precious Uchiwa, OG Anunoby, those guys are really good. The Raptors have a pretty good bench, but I think the 76ers, I mean, Joel Embiid is MVP candidate for a reason. James Harden is known as a good player for a reason. I mean, Tyrese Maxey's been really good. So, I mean, overall, I think the 76ers now have a really good team, and I think they're going to be able to put away Toronto in 5. I think it's gonna be a good series, but yeah, give me the 76ers there for that one. Um, Now moving down to another game in the Eastern Conference, number 3 Milwaukee Bucks going up against the number 6 Chicago Bulls. Now Milwaukee, uh, you know, trying to defend the championship, coming in here at the 3 seed, um, beat the Suns last year. They basically have the same team. And I mean, yeah, Bucks are really good. I wouldn't count them out. And then the Bulls made a lot of moves in this off season. That has definitely helped them. Um, and that move with DeMar DeRozan was really good. And the move for Alex Caruso, the move for Alonzo Ball, even though it looks like Ball's not going to play in the playoffs, but so you really just got the big three of Caruso, Levine, and DeRozan. So that one's gonna be interesting. I think the Bulls are kind of a little dark horse here that you could choose if you're a betting person to possibly beat the Bucks in the first round. But as for this one, I got the Bucks winning this one in 4 or 5, not 4. I don't think they're gonna sweep them, but I think the Bucks are gonna win this one in 5. I think it's gonna be decently close in most of the games, but I feel like the Bucks are just a better team overall, and that's why I have the Bucks winning this one and moving on to the second round. Now moving on to the last game of the first round in the Eastern Conference, the Boston Celtics going up against the number 7 seed uh, Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, was talking about it in the prior game. Kyrie and KD both gonna play. In Boston, Jason Tatum Sorry. Marcus Smart, Jalen Brown, um, Daniel Tice. Sorry, Papa, what just happened? Daniel Tice. Um, really, I mean, they're a good team. Um, and I think the Celtics have a good team. There's a reason why they're 2 seed here. But if everybody recalls what happened last year in the playoffs, Brooklyn won in 5. Um, and you know, and I mean they don't have James Harden in this one, but I feel like the Nets have still a good team. So I do think they're gonna be able to beat Boston, but this one I got Brooklyn in 6. I think it's gonna be a good little matchup. You know, in the first round we get pretty entertaining matchup, but yeah, I think Brooklyn just has enough power to kind of beat, you know, the Celtics. And then moving on to the second round to go against the Bucks. Last year that was a good matchup. That was a good series. KD made the game tying shot. He thought he made the game winner, but his foot was too long. Foot was on the line. Called it 2-pointer. Won it to overtime. The Bucks ended up winning in overtime. So that's gonna be an interesting storyline once we get into it. I'm sure the Nets are probably gonna be looking for some revenge. But gotta head over to the Western Conference. First, we have these number 1 seeded Suns going up against the number 5 Utah Jazz. This one I think is gonna be really close. Phoenix, good team. Jazz, good team. But I think Phoenix, again, they're number 1 seed for a reason. So I think Phoenix is gonna win this one in 6. Um, I think it's gonna be close, but I think the Suns are just overall just a better team compared to the Jazz. Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell are really the only good players for the Jazz, and the Suns just have more players that are able to, move the ball on their own. They don't really need another player. So, yeah, just give me the Suns here. Sorry, give me the Suns here. They made it to the championship last year. I'm sure they're hungry for another one. And I think the Suns are gonna be on a roll here in the playoffs. In the next game, we have number 6 seeded Denver Nuggets going up against the number 2 seed Memphis Grizzlies. And this one, I think it's going to be decently close. I do have this one going into a 7-game series. I think Nikola Jokic and company is going to be able to really fight against John Morant and the Grizzlies. I think it's going to be a really good matchup. But for this one, I have Memphis winning in 7. It's going to be the first 7-game series in the playoffs this year, and theoretically, and I think it's going to be a really good game, really good series. But I think the Grizzlies overall just a really good team, and I think they're possibly championship bound at this point. John Morant, I'm sure, is looking for his next ring. He's in the talks for MVP. Um, on in the talks for most improved player of the year. I think overall, just the Grizzlies have made a cast surrounding John Morant that has worked out in the end for him. Um, and yeah, that's really all my thoughts about that. And then moving on to the Eastern Conference, we have the number 10 seed Charlotte Hornets knocking off the number 1 seed Heat, going up against the number 4 seed 76ers. In this one, I have a little bit of a surprise. I think Charlotte's going to go to another 6-game series and win. I think they're going to beat the 76ers. I think the Hornets are going to be a team that when they play at a high momentum, when they control tempo, it's over. It's over. If you don't have the tempo, if you can't match the tempo of Charlotte, they can change the tempo at any time. Mainly fast paced. If they can really just trick you into going fast paced, which the 76ers can't go fast paced. Joel Embiid's not the fastest guy. James Harden's not really going to be there, to go up against those guards. Maybe Tyrese Maxey. It's probably their best bet, but really, I can't really see the 76ers be able to control tempo, especially if Charlotte is able to do that first. So in that case, just give me Charlotte in a 6 game series. I think that one's gonna be good. Then next we have Milwaukee versus Brooklyn rematch. Brooklyn lost to Milwaukee, I believe, to make it to the championship game. Um, you know, Milwaukee obviously ended up winning and then winning the championship. Um, and Milwaukee's still pretty high favorites to win. Um, the entire thing. The Nets, the Nets, I'm just not sure at this point. They're playing a really good team. Not like Boston wasn't a good team, but I think Boston is one of those teams where they're going to be easily capitalized upon. So I think the Nets can capitalize on the Boston's mistakes, but the Bucks are a different type of breed. I mean, they got Giannis, Chris Middleton, DiVincenzo. Never thought, or not. They don't even have DiVincenzo anymore. Never mind, scratch that. Because DiVincenzo on the Kings, he's unhappy with the Kings. But I mean, they got what, Giannis, Middleton, Holiday. I mean, that's really about it. I mean, but they got more. They got more. Brook Lopez. They got more. Okay, they got Forbes. But I feel like the Bucks are a good team. They basically brought back everybody that was in that championship team, and the Nets lost James Harden, and I think that's gonna be playing a really big role in how this series goes. So really, for me, I got Milwaukee in 5 here. I th- I think I think it's gonna be decently close with, I think all the games are gonna end in one score games. I think it's gonna be a great series to watch. But uh yeah, I think the Bucks are just, gonna overpower them. They're trying to defend their championship. So I got them in the series beating the Nets in 5. Now next, we have the number 1 seed in the West, Phoenix, going up against the number 2 seed in the West, Memphis. Now, Memphis, great team. Phoenix, great team. But in this case, I think it's going to be a little bit faster pace, and I don't know if the Suns could keep up with the Grizzlies in this series. I think it's going to be really hard for them to keep up. You know, I think Memphis is going to give the Suns something that they can't really handle in this one. So I got Memphis in 5 heading into the finals. Memphis coming from last year, winning in the play-in tournament and being first round exits, losing to the Jazz. And they're gonna come in here 2 seed and they're gonna beat the top guys in the West, the Phoenix Suns. They have the best record in the NBA right now. But I think the Grizzlies are a team to look out for. John Morant is a leader, and I think that team, if they follow John Morant to success, I think they're a really good team. They're formidable force. So really, just give me Memphis in this one over over the Suns for that Western Conference championship game. Now next we have Milwaukee versus number 10 seeded Hornets. And this is where I think the Hornets meet their match. I think this is where it gets pretty tough for the Hornets here. I think the Hornets are gonna force a 7 game series. Don't get me wrong, but I got Milwaukee winning the Eastern Conference Championship and heading to the finals back to back. Um, I think the Hornets are a good team. I feel like the Heat are kind of an easy team. You can really capitalize on their mistakes. 76ers, that might be a little bit a harder match, but I feel like that's something they can, little hurdle that they can jump over. But the Bucks are the wall. Okay, the Hornets were just running a whole marathon, jumping over the hurdles. They beat the 9th seed, they beat the 8th seed, and then they beat the 1 seed. They kept running. They beat the 4 seed, and now at this 3 seed Milwaukee Bucks, I think Milwaukee's the wall that is gonna show up the Hornets. I think Milwaukee's gonna be able to uh, really just show them this is what happens when you're playing with the big boys now. Okay, the bottom half of the bracket, like Milwaukee, Chicago, Boston, Brooklyn. That's if the Hornets were fighting up against those guys, I don't think the Hornets would get as far as they would. So, um, I think Milwaukee's just a better team here, way better team compared to the Hornets. I think the Hornets can put up a fight, force it to Game 7, but I got the Bucks winning that one. Now in the finals, the fight between the 2 seed in the West, the 3 seed in the East. Whew. I think this is gonna be a good one to watch. Okay, but overall, I don't think it's gonna be an entertaining series. Some of the games are gonna be fun to watch, but I don't think it's gonna be an entertaining series. I think the Bucks are a force. They're a force to be reckoned with, and the Grizzlies. I think here again they meet their match. The Suns might be a little bit difficult for them, but the Bucks are another team. I think the Bucks are like aliens. Aliens that came like the Monstars. Okay, the Bucks are the Monstars because like they're just that good of a team, and I think the Bucks, they're gonna be a formidable force, and I think they're gonna be able to sweep the Memphis Grizzlies in 4 in the finals, and Milwaukee's gonna go back to back. Giannis most likely is gonna get Finals MVP. Yeah, I think it's gonna be overall just pretty easy. So, give me the Bucks in 4 here. Win the finals, get another championship. Nothing new, okay? Pretty routine. End the season off on that note. And can't wait for the free agency season. That's gonna be great. But yeah, give me Milwaukee there in 4. Um, and that'll be all for today's video/episode. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube, and like, comment, and follow, and give a rating if you're on a podcast platform, and also just share with anybody that you think would be interested. Thank you for listening or watching all the way through. Have a great rest of your day.